Hi guys! So over the past few months since moving to Ireland, I have been learning about this thing called a BER rating. I had never heard of this until I had moved here, and so I had to study it for myself so that I could better help and assist my client. So first of all, BER stands for Building Energy Rating, and it comes in the form of a certificate which rates your property's energy performance on a scale between A and G. G-rated houses are the lowest energy efficient, and A-rated houses are the most energy efficient. So, how is a BER rating calculated? It is calculated based on the amount of energy a property needs to space heat or water heat a property, the ventilation within the dwelling, and the lighting within the dwelling. The calculation is based on the structure itself and not on the energy usage of the occupants that live inside. So this is handy for people who are considering a purchase because they can look at all the houses. Perhaps if they have 3 narrowed down that they're interested in, they can compare directly the energy performance of each property. The BER collects all the relevant information, such as the structure's construction material, the age of the original house and any extensions, the floor dimensions, the room height, the window and door measurements. It also looks at things like the structure's orientation. When I say orientation, I mean as it pertains to north, south, east, and west. The calculation process, the insulation levels within the home or the insulation values within the attic, the walls, the floor, so on and so forth. Details regarding the building's heating system, what type of heating system is inside, the hot water system, water cylinders, the ventilation elements, including the vents and the fans and the draft lobbies, lighting elements of the home, and I'm talking light fixtures, not mobile lamps within the house, and renewable systems. So renewable systems are like heat pump. When I was doing research of what's entailed in getting a BER certificate for your property, it talked about what the assessors will do when they come in. So that includes taking pictures and gathering information from you, so asking you questions, and then collecting information from you. So if you have manuals or certificates for any of the elements of your home, light fixtures, furnaces, hot water boilers, heat pumps, so on and so forth. All of this information is relevant and it should be provided to your BER assessor so that they can input all of this data into a special software program that's been created specifically for this BER energy rating program. I'm not going to get into that software. It's of no benefit to us, but what affects a BER is certainly beneficial to know. So things that affects a BER rating: age of the construction of the property. So if all the information can't be gathered or accessed due to limitations in accessing elements of the home, when the BER assessor refers to the age of the property, it allows for assumptions in relation to, the potential amount of insulation that it would contain or the efficiency of a heating system. Another thing that affects a BER is the floor area. So directly accessible rooms or other spaces such as closets, cupboards, they're included in the calculation, but unheated spaces which are clearly divided from the dwelling are not included in the floor area. Thermal insulation, that's a big one. Insulation can be found in the attic, in the walls, in the floors of a house. On average, a house loses between 20 and 30% of its heat through the walls and upwards of 30% through an attic that is poorly insulated. Properties containing low insulation, as you can imagine, are lower on the BER rating scale than properties with good amounts of insulation. Doors and windows. Dwellings can lose about 10% of their heat through windows and doors. This, of course, depends on the frame type and the glazing of windows. So if you have a triple glazed window and a really well sealed type of door, you're going to have a higher BER rating than somebody who has a single glazed window and a poorly sealed door. These are things that are going to affect your BER rating. With regards to windows and doors, there are default values that have been assigned. I'm not going to get too much into that. The values were created in part and parcel with the software program where the BER data will be input by your assessor. Heating systems and controls, it's pretty much common knowledge that an old school gas or oil boiler with no operating controls would be less efficient than a newer heating solution such as a heat pump. The newer equipment with the operating controls can almost always increase your energy efficiency, and that would then equal a higher BER rating. Light fixtures, as I said before, only fixed lights that are installed in your house or would be calculated within the report. The quantity and type of your light fixtures in the property are recorded during the evaluation process. And the more energy efficient your light bulbs are, the lower calculated energy usage will be. And this will improve your BER rating. Renewables can include photovoltaics, heat pumps, solar water heating, biomass, wind energy, solar space heating. Any of these elements, if they're operating in the home, they will likely have a very positive impact on your BER assessment. So hopefully all this is making sense to you thus far. It's making sense to me, and I didn't have a clue when I started. But I do know if you're thinking of selling and you realize that it might be time to get a BER assessment done, where do you go to find one? Google, my friends. Google. In just a few short keystrokes, I uncovered a list, dozens and dozens of different assessors out there. So my advice to you would be to call around, get quotes, and find the most competitive price option available to you. Before the BER assessment happens, I would speak to the assessor. I would get copies of all the documentation that you have on hand to give to the assessor, detail the work that has happened at the property, and if you have any documentation to back up that would be very useful, I'm sure, as well. Personally, I would do any work that I was thinking about doing prior to the BER assessor showing up. If you have funds on hand to top up your insulation, to change out all your light bulbs in the property, I'd go ahead and do that. I'd consider that more of a lower cost repair than, say, replacing like your heat source. And then that can be then calculated in your BER report versus having the report done, not being happy with the rating that you get, and then going ahead and making these improvements and then having to get that assessor come back in, which will likely cost more money. I think the best way to do it is to do the improvements first, but talk to the assessor about that. I'm far from a pro, but there you go.